Do you find that your Alienware 17R4 laptop freezes? The games just freeze and stutter for no insane reason? Your temperatures are low? Well, we have a fix for you. Hi, this is Stephen from Owner Disown, and welcome to another edition of Have Your Say, where I interview subscribers with particular expertise in certain areas. Now, you may recall one of my videos where I interviewed iUnlock and his team Liquid Hertz, talking about the repasting of the Alienware 17R4. Well, this takes it a step further. Alex has done some excellent work in solving a problem where your temperatures are low, but your game stutters or freezes. So let's have a word with him. Hi, this is Stephen from Owner Disown, and today we've got an exciting guest. It's Alex from a country called Brunei. Check it out on Google Earth. It's about 12 hours time difference from me on Eastern State. So how do you do, Alex?
Hi, Stephen. I'm good. Thanks for having me on your channel.
Yeah, no problem. The reason why we've invited Alex in is that he's an expert on Alienware laptops. And he's been looking at, of course, got iUnlock's tutorial on repasting, but that's only part of the story with the heat issues. He unearthed some other issues which many of my viewers actually have reported, that if you have stuttering in games, other things are going on, even if the temperatures are cool. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about your findings, Alex.
Yeah, well, I've seen Alienware 17 R4, 6820, Skylake, and KB Lake. Have you got any stuttering issues on your end?
I never had. I mean, I always had overheating issues, but the games all typically ran fairly smooth. But some people have had that.
We are here today because some of the GTX 1080 laptops shipped by Alienware with the OCB BIOS, or those who have done a repaste and repat using the standard guide, ran into stuttering issues. So I'm sure you are aware of this, and quite a lot of people are having this issue as well. If you do a quick search on the internet, you'll find like there's quite a number of people facing this issue. Some have posted on the YouTube, some on Reddit, Alienware forum, and most of it on Notebook Review forum. From my limited research, there is actually no fix in place. And Alienware tech support seems to be clueless as to what is going on.
Wow, okay.
And you know that they've been issuing motherboard replacements, heatsink replacement, and when all fails, well, they issue system replacement. I mean, for Western countries, you guys can actually return the laptop. You can get system replacement easily. That is not an issue. But for people in Asia, you know, getting replacement is really tough. So, you know, I have to take things into my own hands.
Yeah, no, I must admit that's one thing we do take for granted here. I must admit, because it's, you know, they're very good supporters, Alienware, and they'll even send people to your text to your house. I take it they don't do that, do they? In where you are in Brunei, you don't get any text to your house.
Well, they do send tech support to my place, but then in order for them to dispatch tech support, you know, you have to get through their online tech support first. And those people can be quite difficult to deal with, let me just say.
Oh, right. Oh, that's unfortunate. But so, yeah, you've taken it all into your own hands, and just as well you're an expert. So what did you find out? Right,
okay, so for myself, my Skylake 6820 HK GTX 1080 was stutter-free. Well, even with the overclock BIOS, I have actually no stuttering problem at all. So it actually came as absolute surprise to me, you know, when I got my KB Lake 7820 HK GTX 1080, that I had started to have stuttering issues. And because, like I said, knowing that there's no fix in place, no solution to this problem, and I don't want to deal with Alienware tech support, so I decided to investigate this further. And well, instead of me explaining what the stutter is all about, do you mind if I watch a short video?
Yes, put it up on the screen and we'll take a look.
Okay, there. Stuttering happens.
It's just stopped, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
That's most frustrating.
It's gonna get worse.
That'll make you an easy target. There you are.
There it is. Yeah.
The only time I've ever had that type of issue is if the CPU is approaching 99%.
Any starters?
Yeah, well, you've got high CPU usage, something's going on. But that wasn't the case here, is it? Because
Yeah,
it's
see that here?
50%, eh?
Well, if you look at my GPU temperature, it's only 60, 67, 68. My CPU is at 81, so yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and you're only like a 60-70% top CPU utilization there, so...
After watching the video, the starter was actually replicable every single time you run the exact same game. So if you notice, the entire screen will freeze or for a split second, and it continues, and then after a while it comes back. And if the starter is actually serious enough, the audio will freeze as well. So obviously this is extremely annoying, you know. Well, I've actually got the latest BIOS, the latest VBIOS, and the latest NVIDIA driver. So those those factors couldn't have been the issue. And if you look at the temperature just now, it was actually a cool 60 plus degrees for the GPU and about 80 degrees for the CPU. So it's not even overheating at all.
It's not too, yeah. And when you got the GPU load there, the white lines, is that where you get the stutter?
If you look at the GPU Z, this is what I've got. It's a sample though. If you look at the GPU load area, this one,
That's what I was thinking there, those white lines, yeah.
So whenever the starter happens, well, the GPU load drops straight to 0 for 1 second, and it goes back up to 99%. Well, if you look close enough under this area, so whenever the load drops to 0, if you look at perf cap reason, it's actually telling you that there's VREL.
Okay, can you explain what that is?
Well, okay, let me start with perf cap. Perf cap stands for performance cap reasons. It's actually telling you what's going on with the GPU. Why is it stuttering? Why does the load drop straight to 0? If you look at the blue bar, it's telling you that it registers as VREL. And what's VREL? It stands for voltage reliability. Right off the bat, it's telling us that the stuttering has something to do with the DC power delivery to the GTX 1080. And that was the area I focused on.
Okay, that's interesting. It's good to know. Yeah, thanks for explaining that.
Well, from my investigation, it seems like the power delivery circuit is the culprit. Well, I've tested the same laptop with 2 different revisions of the 330 watts power supply, and they both produce the same result. So the next possibility could be a defective motherboard or overheat due to extra 30 watts required by the new VBIOS.
Okay, so you did test some with the previous BIOS, and the issue goes away, does it?
Yeah, it does. Shout out to his name, Zero-K. Yeah, he's a member in Notebook forums. He posted a VBIOS, the old VBIOS to be exact, and yeah, he actually helped quite a lot of people who don't want to do to repair their system.
The previous VBIOS is more of a camouflage, isn't it? You would say, yeah.
Yeah, it's more like a band-aid to the issue. Well, the issue is always going to be there if you're having stuttering issues. I mean the VRMs are probably operating at their temperature edge, if that makes sense. They could be at the verge of overheating and it's definitely not recommended for you to continue using your computer in this way. I understand that there's a lot of people, they don't fork out extra money to buy premium support for like 3 years or so. So if you're actually using your system in such a way, and the VRMs are actually not cooled properly, and it can affect the lifespan of the VRMs, the chokes. Probably by a year, your system could have died.
Wow, that's scary, isn't it? You think this is something Alienware would be jumping all over?
Well, I've got 3 years premium support though, so I'm not too worried about that.
I don't think you need it. I think you can fix these yourself. So what is the solution?
So when I first disassembled my laptop to check the heatsink and the power delivery components, it first came to my attention that there were gaps between the heatsink and the GDDR5X under the GPU. So I actually got this picture from iUnlock. So this is a good picture that shows that there's an issue with the GDDR5X over here.
Right. Okay.
If you can see, the metal plate is actually sitting a lot higher than the copper heat pipes. You can see that the thermal packs actually curve down.
Ah, yes, it is. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So the GDDR5X memory chip here is making good contact, but over here, no contacts at all. Again, from iUnlock. Over here, he recommends a 0.5 mm pad for the GDDR5X memory. So when I disassemble the laptop, this is where I found the gap. There is actually a gap between the heatsink, the thermal pad, and the chip itself. There's actually no contact at all. So I took out the original pads from Alienware and I measure it. It's actually 1 mm.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
But you can see it. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yeah. Well, 1 millimeter.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely not going to be no contact. And
Yeah.
and you test this by doing like an imprint test, I think.
These are actually component imprints. So it's actually showing you that the pads are making good contacts with the components below. These are actually the chokes. The chokes are not really the big issue because what I noticed, they're actually making very good contacts. The problem is actually with the VRMs. One I highlighted in red, yeah. This one, and especially this one. These ones.
There's no imprint at all.
Well, with the Dell pads, it's actually a bit difficult to see the imprints because the thicker pads that they use, they actually go back to its original form when the pressure is released. But on the Fuji Poly pads, those, especially those Extreme 11 and above, whenever the pressure is released, the pads don't go back to its original form. So you can actually see the pads being deformed by the components.
So did you just replace the pads they highlighted in red, or did you do the whole lot?
My first attempt, I replaced all the pads from Alienware with the recommended pads by iUnlock, and that is where I ran into issues. After I changed out the GDDR5 pads, the ones I told you earlier about over here, this one and this one, well, I've actually managed to prolong the starter to about 30 minutes instead of 10 to 15 minutes at first. But obviously, 30 minutes and stuttering is not it's not a solution. So I open up the system again and I keep checking and then I found there were actually gaps. Yeah, here and here. iUnlock actually recommended 1.5 millimeter pads on them. This is for the 78HK system. But if you look at the 6820, he actually recommended 1 mm. And to be honest, 1 mm is definitely not enough. It will make no contacts with the VRMs underneath. Absolutely no.
Right, you might as well just go thick and guarantee the contact, wouldn't you? I mean, not too thick, I suppose. But...
Well, the reason all these are happening is because all the heat sinks that come out from CCI, they are not created equal. I mean, there are some manufacturing tolerances. You know, the metal plates, they are actually easy to bend. So what happens is when they mass produce this, and because it's copper, it's actually quite soft. And then these metal plates, I don't know, some kind of a metal alloy mix, they're actually quite soft as well. You run into a lot of tolerances problems.
Right, okay. So what was your next step then?
Well, after replacing pads from these two areas, I've actually used one of them 1.5 millimeters and the other one 2 mm. Again, it really depends on your heatsink and your laptop. If you feel that when you can visually see gaps, you need to increase the thermal pad size until you can actually get a good imprint of the VRMs on the pad.
You mentioned something in your posts about using a razor blade or something, or some tweezers to see if it moves, something like that.
Well, the most difficult gap for me so far are these ones. The most difficult gaps to identify, let me put it this way, these ones. Well, the reason being, when I inspected the pads visually with my eyes, they're actually making good contacts. I mean, you can't see any gaps. But problem is when I try to move, when the heat sink is being screwed all the way down to the motherboard, and I use a tweezer to poke it a little bit or wiggle it, the pads actually move. So to my surprise, it's actually making no contacts at all. The gap could be as little as small as 0.1 mm, you know.
Yeah. But there will be that play. So that's probably the first step you'd recommend anybody does first.
Yeah, and a very important tip for everyone is not to reuse pads. Those Fuji Poly pads, Extreme Series 11 and above, when, like I said, when it's compressed, you know, it doesn't return to shape. So,
but if you're using the regular Alienware pads and you're just doing a repaste, you're probably safe because they do go back to they're more elastic.
Yeah. These ones are actually quite thick. They do go back to you know, to its side, to its original form. So if you're not doing any repads at all, but just please check for gaps, because some of the owners in notebook review forums, they have reported that they have received laptops straight from factory and they have stuttering issues as well. So there could be gaps happening somewhere here along this area or this area, and there's definitely gap here. Even the factory pads will not be able to make good contacts here.
Now you'd think this would be applicable to all manufacturers of notebooks, wouldn't you? Not just Alienware. I mean, have you heard of any other issues on notebook review?
Well, to be honest, I didn't go and check like MSI forums or Gigabyte forums, but then you've heard of EVGA about their VRM overheating issues. I don't know if you've heard about this. They've issued GPU owners, GTX 1080 owners, apparently have probably manufacturing tolerance issue. The pads are not making contacts with the VRMs, and some of the cards are actually go up in smokes.
Oh wow!
And it's quite serious actually.
No, you mean the amount of say power and temperature these things are under.
Yeah, probably at 150 watts, it might not be, you know, as big of an issue, but because Alienware released the overclock VBIOS, which increased another 30 watts, you know, the power demands on the VRMs and chokes is going to be a lot higher. Yeah, you can imagine why this is happening to just all these systems.
Well, I'm gonna post this video on the Alienware Facebook forum, and I know Frank Azor watches that, or you know, so I'll be interested to see what comments he has.
I certainly hope so. I mean, you know, things like this, it shouldn't have been fixed by the user. It should have been done right in the first place in the factory.
Yeah, you can't expect the average person to do this, not at all. I mean, they'll just send it back. It's just not going to happen, is it? So.
Yeah, to be honest with you, well, it really depends on the owner. I mean, if you don't want to deal with Alienware's tech support, you might have to get your hands dirty and you know and do all this. But then, like I say, you know, the average person is not meant to do all this.
Well, I really appreciate you you know, showing us how you do it and which areas to look out for and how to test for it, because it is a minefield, isn't it? You know, and as you say, if you can't get tech support, you've got to do it yourself. It's a very daunting task, isn't it? So seeing these pictures, I think, certainly helps out a lot of people.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I've actually tried to simplify the steps from 1 to 7 over here in my thread.
Yeah, and I'll put a link of this in the description so that everybody can see it.
I mean, just to sum it up, first you launch GPU Z, play Battlefield 1 or any graphic intensive games, let it stutter for 10-15 minutes or so you can get a nice graph showing that there's stuttering happening in these areas, and then see if it's registering as VREL on the perf cap reason. So if it's like that, then you have a stuttering problem, and you need to take a closer look at your VRMs, your GDR5X, and your chokes. I mean, the chokes are not really an issue, to be honest, but the VRMs really are.
Yeah, I get you. And of course, people with a GTX 1070 aren't likely to have this issue, are they? Or anything less powerful. It's going to be mainly on the 1080.
Yeah, I mean, we're mostly seeing this problem on 1080 because 1080 consumes a lot more power than 1070. With the unlocked BIOS, we are talking about 180 watts compared to 120 for 1070.
Oh yeah, it's a huge difference. Yeah. Well, great. Well, I appreciate you spending the time, Alex, to go through that. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Probably I shown you this one earlier. Well, this is a cross section of the GPU. The black one is the heatsink. This is the choke. This is the VRM. This is the thermal pads. The silver ones are the thermal pads, and this is the GPU. So obviously the VRMs they create a lot of heat, and they need to be cooled. If the thermal pads are not making good contacts, it's going to be a big issue. So what happens here is that sometimes when the heatsink is manufactured out of tolerances, there could be gaps here. That's what making the VRMs overheat, not supplying enough power to the GTX 1080. When components overheat, they tend to cut off just to save themselves.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, exactly. To cut down the power. Yeah. So it's a heatsink manufacturing issue then, isn't it? Not consistent enough in tolerances.
Exactly. And this is the graph showing that my fixed system is just to prove that after I did all those things.
Oh, that's a lot better.
Yeah, stutter free. Almost 2 hours on Battlefield 1. Zero stuttering. I've actually overclocked my GPU, if you notice. GPU speed maximum over 2 gigahertz. Temperature max 66. Load 99% all the way. No stuttering, no dropping.
Fantastic.
Yeah, this is actually my overclocked CPU 4.1.
Nice, yeah, it's a lot better than what I was getting. But of course, you repasted it as well, didn't you? So it all helps. Yeah, so no, I think, Alex, that's fantastic. No stuttering there, according to your graphs. Your temperatures there look fantastic. You've overclocked everything. And, I think I'd like to thank yourself and Ionlock's tutorial on the repasting. I think these type of things helps the average user identify an issue and possible fixes. So really thank you for your time, Alex.
Thank you very much for having me. And again, I apologize for my poor English. I mean, it's not my native language, so I hope that my message carries through.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And I think I'm going to go and visit your fantastic country. You guys out there, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Bye, Alex. And bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you very much.